I'm really happy that you've joined me and my continuing segment on LGBT history. And today I wanted to talk about a woman that lived around 30 CE in the Common Era. She was born around 30 Common Era, which is of course meaning after Jesus died. And she lived in an area called Konya, Turkey. And she lived at a time period where women were very repressed. And she became actually a Christian heroine. But I am going to do a bit of a lesbian lens spin on her story today. And I think you'll probably enjoy it, hopefully as much as I do. So basically what happened with her was, at this time, arranged marriages were the norm. So she was, and they happened quite young often. The parents would arrange marriages while their kids were still very young. So she was paired off to marry some guy, and she was not at all interested in doing that. So she actually escaped before the marriage was to occur, like the story goes, several days before. And she cut off all her hair and dressed like a man and ran off. And basically, the reason that she became a Christian heroine was she ended up joining what was a convent that we would know today. She went in and she became a Christian, and she became celibate, and she became a nun, and she became a very important figure. And as far as Christianity goes, the story is, she, escaped this arranged marriage and became this wonderful Christian nun. When we look at it from a lesbian perspective, however, there is other components coming in here. I mean, she ends up cutting off her hair, dressing like a man, and right there is an interesting way of dealing with a big problem that you're facing. Not all women would think of that as a solution in that kind of a situation unless there was something very comfortable about doing that in the first place. Another component that's really important to understand that we know now is a lot of lesbians or women that were same-sex oriented ended up hiding out in convents for thousands of years during the period of time in Western civilization history where there was no way for them to survive any other way. In other words, because women were not really capable or allowed to make a living for themselves, thus having financial freedom away from a man, one way to get away from men was to join the convent. And so we see that for thousands of years in these convents, there were definitely same-sex oriented women living in there, having relationships with one another, and thriving in less than ideal circumstances, but definitely better than being forced into a heterosexual marriage that they would not have been able to deal with. So again, why are these kind of things important? Well, it's really important that we all know and understand that gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people have always existed. Well before the terminology was developed, that's an important component too. It wasn't like, even the different women in these convents would have called themselves lesbian. That term didn't exist yet. But same-sex eros always has existed. We have always been on this planet, and we have learned how to adapt in very oppressive environments and figure out how to survive. I love how resilient we've had to be and learned how to, live despite not being able to live a truly authentic life. On the flip side, of course, there's this passed down trauma that we're still dealing with today. But as we continue to learn our history and know what LGBT folks have gone before us, we can gain some more pride to know that we've always existed, and we need to know our ancestors. It's really, really good to know who came before us and the roads that they paved to help us be where we are today. Thank you.